begin with one from Dave Lawton, who asks, when a top-flight referee makes a high-profile mistake and is subsequently dropped for the next round of fixtures, should a senior official from PGMOL, that's professional game match officials, state the reason behind that process?
So the reality is that, like a club manager, and I used to say I was the 21st manager in the league, if a manager is unhappy with the performance of a player, that player isn't played the following week. The manager of that club will not make a reason why he's dropped. And in a way, I think that the process here has to be, in refereeing terms, to be more transparent than it is currently.
If it comes through, obviously the top end, the guy who's the manager, or Mike Riley, comes through there and says that this has happened, that's happened, then I think that would be a better process for us all to stop a lot of speculation about what does or what doesn't happen.
Let's move on to a further question coming from, this time, Michael John. Do you think the powers that be are actually reluctant to implement change in refereeing technology due to the media interest that surrounds that controversy week in and week out?
There's one argument that many people don't favour, has been set out there by Blatter, that mistakes allow this machine that's football, so it's like feeds this machine of football. So everybody talks about it, it's in the papers, it's in the news, it's in the television. It just continues, allows everybody to talk about it. If you're aiming for 100%, wouldn't it better, not technology, but wouldn't it better actually to get better coaching of referees, more fitness, making sure that every game has been analysed by the referees themselves, with the idea of increasing the level? That's, in my eyes, a better solution than putting technology.
It's all about key decisions, the big key match incidents. Did they get the big key decision right? Because it's costing people like Sam his jobs. You know, managers are losing their jobs, players are, teams are losing points. They could go up, they could go down, they could lose a cup game, they could matter of going into the Champions League or not. So I think for every big key match incident, whether it's a penalty, a red card, or a disallowed offside goals, how many times are we seeing goals chalked out this season for offside and goals that should have been chalked out, not chalked out? So for me, I think anything that aids the decision making of the referees got to be good for our game, because it's a multi-million-pound business now.
Question from Craig Harrison, who says he's a fan of non-league football, that's Conference and Conference South. He says there are often many questionable decisions and performances. Does the more intimate feel of a non-league game have an effect on the referee, as they're able to hear the crowd much clearer due to the smaller crowd sizes and how close they are to the pitch? Mark?
Well, I've got to tell you, my brother's a manager of a non-league side, Hertford Town, who plays against Guillem's Biggleswade United and lost, by the way. Yeah, and my brother rings me up every Saturday night whinging about the referees at that level. So it's all the way through. I think Guillem can talk a bit about them as well, because obviously he director of football. He sees quite a lot of them at non-league. It's all about. It's all about experience. It's all about being mentally strong, mentally tough. Whether you're on a non-league ground or you're on football's the same all around the world. It's just played at different levels and different stadiums. And honestly, even at non-league level, you don't really hear, because you're fully focused, you're fully concentrating on what you're doing. So to say that, for me, I don't agree with that.
Tell us about Biggleswade United. I know you're dying to, Guillem.
We're doing very well, and we're going to do better next season. But on referees, what I found at that level, and this has been again studied, that the better coaching of referee there is, the better decisions they get taken. The less influence they get from the shouting of you, brother, and from the fans.
From Matt Stamper, who refers to West Ham's goalkeeper, Sam's goalkeeper, Adrian, who got sent off for handling outside the area. That was against Southampton, wasn't it? 0-0 draw. Matt says he's not got a problem with that, but he says the same night Aguero put the ball into the net for Manchester City with his hand in the 6-yard box, only gets a yellow card. Deliberate handball. Why wasn't he sent off? If a defender deliberately handles the ball and prevents a goal, he is sent off.
I'd like to answer that very quickly. One, the referee decision was incorrect.
Yeah.
That goalkeeper, right, first of all, can only be dismissed if he has handled outside the penalty area and in doing so has denied an obvious goal-scoring opportunity.
Clear.
And within the criteria of denial of an obvious goal-scoring opportunity, it was not fulfilled.
Well, and when it comes to penalties, sometimes I think the penalty's enough.
Yeah. Correct.
And the sending off is
Correct.
is
Absolutely.
double punishment. You know what I mean? And we really, when we look at it, that the game gets spoilt when it gets to 10v11.
Yeah.
Correct.
Somewhat from an entertainment
Absolutely.
value. So the fact that you've got the penalty, unless it's an outrageous tackle or it's almost
Violent.
I think if
blatantly
there's
gone for
one
it,
thing
that might
referees
be-
would want to change, Sam, is that when a player's going through, a goalkeeper comes out, makes a genuine attempt for the ball, and he brings him down.
Yeah.
And we'd love to see FIFA change that and just give penalty sufficient punishment, because you're not denying a goal scoring opportunity because you've got the penalty.
But that's not a refereeing problem, is it? It's not a refereeing problem. That's the laws of the game.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it needs to be perhaps adjusted to be in favour of all of us, and particularly referees.
Yeah.
Question from Thomas Serbrook, who's here tonight, I think, as well. He says, after successfully stamping out elbows, tackles from behind and excessive force from the game, will referees ever be able to stamp out diving after minimal contact if they keep rewarding it, such as with the last-minute penalty Spurs got against West Ham on Sunday?
A few years ago, we had a real problem with simulation. And let me guarantee you this, and I said it to the managers at the time, we referees are going to get it wrong. We're going to get it wrong. This is where I like the idea of video evidence. The reality is that the quality of some of the players and the way they go down, they deceive the referee, and the referee's then got a problem.
Retrospective action on diving, yes, I mean, it's, again, a punishment that's going to happen to the player where the club who it happened against are not going to benefit. Yeah. And that's one of the problems. So it may that football club may not be getting in any benefit whatsoever, because that might be one of the best players that team's got, and they're playing a team directly below them the next week, and that best player for there is not playing. So that where do you stop with retrospective punishment is a difficult thing.
Even with the benefit of endless replays from different angles, pundits often can't agree on whether something's a foul or not, which illustrates the empty promise, he says, of video technology assisting referees. Isn't the ideal solution to replace referees completely with a real-time software analysis like a robo-ref? What do you think?
You hear what I think of it. The technology won't sort out all the problems. It may sort out one or two problems, but there is other things that you can do to sort out similar problems. There was a game in one World Cup. It was Sweden-Morocco, I think it was, and they calculated there were like 21 angles of a penalty. About 19 of them were conclusive and showed that it was not a penalty, but there was one that clearly showed that it was a penalty. So where do you start? Where do you start with technology? I do think we partly here because we don't agree on things, and disagreeing is part of the game.
Rakesh Mita's question, it goes to us, the referees especially, how they cope with what they call the siege mentality that he claims that Jose Mourinho uses. As a ref, are you influenced either way? He says, I know you're saying no, but it must play on your mind when you're about to blow the whistle for a marginal decision, for example, a penalty or a sending off.
For that, you honestly, you do not read newspapers. Well, I never used to read newspapers. I never used to listen to watch Sky Sports News on a Friday afternoon or a Thursday when these guys do their press conferences. And you just got to go out there and be strong and be tough and give what you see.
Sam, is siege mentality a tactic you would ever consider using?
A siege mentality against the opposition, I think, not against the referee and the officials. I don't think there's anything in that to be gained. I think that you might use a certain few mind games on, the referee if you feel it's not the referee, on the manager that you're playing against. If you well, we can't talk about referees anyway. We're not allowed. So.
a question from Neil Davidson, who directs it especially at Mark and Keith particularly. He says, after a weekend of Premier League football that saw many contentious decisions that can have multi-million pound effects on a club, do you think it's time to introduce or at least trial some form of television review system similar to that in cricket and rugby, with each team having a certain number of reviews?
Can we come in?
Yeah.
I think what is clear is how you use it. And the reality is that with the modern technology, someone can sit in front of a screen and he's got 3 seconds, 7 seconds, 10 seconds in which to be able to review.
But I just think that from our point of view, because everybody says how far is it going to go, you know what I mean? And I just think to start with, if you're trying it, I just think it's, if you give the responsibility as we do in tennis, that it's down to the manager to challenge a decision, and maybe we start with you've got 2 challenges a game or 3 challenges a game, because generally there's never much more than 3 or 4 major crucial incidents you want to look at in a game. And if you think the referee's got it wrong, you've got the time to say, well, we challenge that decision.
Let's bring our 2 wingmen in here, Mark Halsey and Guillem Balagué, on this question from Eric Golding, who says, as an FA referee tutor, I'm regularly taken to task by students who watch football, mostly on TV, and see decisions made which are contrary to the laws of the game, which I'm trying to teach them. This is often aggravated by the experts, in quotes, who are either wrong in law or misinterpret the situation. What are your thoughts on that, Mark?
Spot on. Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely spot on. I mean, we've seen this weekend, haven't we, with referee decisions. I mean, I think you can go back and you can look at Sam. With I watched Sam watching the penalty awarded against West Ham, which I've got to say I thought was a penalty. I thought Son was a bit naive, but you can clearly see that added time's up. You know, time's finished. But in law, you have to allow for the penalty to be taken. Okay. So then once that penalty is taken, it's either scored or saved. That's the end of the game. And that's it. And I think what John Moss done was he went back to... Everyone knew what he was going to do. He was going to kick off and he was going to blow his whistle. And we're talking about, you know, being strong and mentally tough and mentally brave. And John Moss on Sunday wasn't mentally tough and mentally strong. It takes a brave referee to do that. But what he should have done was he should have called the captains to him and said, right, when this penalty is taken, irrespective of who he scores or he saves it, the game's finished. And then everybody would have known what was going on. And he was managing that occasion. He was managing the players to let them know. So I think he's absolutely spot on that some referees are contrary to law, and we've seen that this season.